Good afternoon. This is Zach Culver from the Kentucky Employee Assistance Program with today's wellness break. Earlier in session 2, we touched on how to move from thoughts as reality to recognizing thoughts as mental events. The idea behind this is that if we can see how thoughts don't necessarily translate into fact or predict the future, then we won't be as negatively impacted by them. Some might feel that they already recognize that their thoughts are not reality. But the chances that you have been caught up in emotions of repetitive thinking are high because the research on thought shows that much of our cognitive processes are automatic and often below our level of awareness. If you've ever found yourself in a bad mood and asked how you got there, it's a good bet that there were some negative automatic thoughts running in the background of your mind impacting your mood. The ability to pick up on automatic thinking before it gets out of control is a great secondary benefit of our previous exercise of breath awareness and noticing when your mind starts to wander and bringing it back. The more you practice that recognition of a distracted mind, the better you get at noticing it in your everyday life. But what about the thoughts that are obvious and how negative they are and how they take up space in your consciousness? Before looking at a strategy, I want you to think about thoughts and feelings as a waterfall that you're standing under. This waterfall is loud, like our thoughts can be, and powerful in how they land upon us, sometimes beating us down. Often, their influence is significant, and that strength can push us downstream into making decisions we regret because we are not acting in a way that is consistent with our values. There is no way to rid ourselves of the waterfall, but what if we could take a step back? What if there was a recess behind that waterfall in which we could still witness the power of our thoughts and feelings, but not be overtaken by them? That is what this next exercise can teach us to do. So I'd like you to return to the sitting position and posture that you've been using in your previous exercises, unless this is your first. And for those folks, I'd like you to envision that your head is a balloon and your spine is the string, with your head pulling your body into a distinguished position that is different from how you would sit when you're watching TV or having coffee with friends. That way, if you were ever to return to these exercises, the brain will know that is what's going to happen based off the position that you take at the beginning of the exercise. Let's start with the breathing. Because of its natural rhythm and the fact that it's always with you, this allows us to focus and bring us into the present moment. So if you would, take a few seconds to focus on the rise and fall of your abdomen as you take a deep breath in and then exhale out. Now, I would like you to picture yourself laying in a field as you continue to practice your breathing. Make the setting yours by adding whatever details that might help you to really visualize this environment. From sounds of birds singing or bugs buzzing, or whether there is a breeze blowing that is moving your hair or cooling your skin. As you lay in this field, look up to the sky. It's perfectly blue, and because the sun is behind you and not in your line of sight, it's easy to maintain your focus upon this clear blue sky. Now that you have this image, I want you to open your awareness to any thoughts. It's not uncommon for the first thought to be about this exercise, or maybe trying to figure out what it's all about. But whatever it is, I'd like you to imagine that that thought is on a cloud that enters the sky from the left and floats across it until it's ready to leave at the right. There's nothing to do with this thought cloud as it passes through your sky except to observe it. There is no way to make the thought cloud increase its speed. It's way too far away to interact with. And even if you could, it's a cloud, and it would slip through your hands. Thoughts are much the same way, in that they come and go. There 1 minute and gone the next. Or like clouds on a calm day, they stay around for a bit until you think to look up again and notice that they're gone. You may have multiple thoughts at the same time, so make sure that each has its own cloud drifting into your sky. But regardless of the number, remind yourself that you have no responsibility to interact with these clouds. There's no need to understand why you're having these thoughts or to judge their presence in any way. It's just your job to observe them float by until they leave your conscious awareness. And as you breathe and observe, continue to recognize that it is only your job to be aware. As you progress through this exercise, you may find yourself attending to thoughts no longer aware of your sky and clouds. If that is the case, just notice this shift in perspective. You might also notice that you've begun interacting with these thoughts, started thinking about what you need to do after today's wellness break, or ask yourself what made you think of that, or start to worry about an insecurity that the thought triggered. If that's the case, we've moved into problem solving mode and we want to take a step back and return to watching. Remind yourself that you'll have plenty of time later to address these thoughts in a more active fashion, especially if you're maintaining the worry list from our previous session. For now, I want you to return to your place lying in the field, looking up at your sky. Continue picturing your thoughts as clouds traveling through, moving at their own speed as they enter your field of vision on the left and eventually exit to the right. Your only responsibility, watching those thoughts as they pass through your sky without interaction and without judgment. Now I'd like you to return your focus to the rhythmic nature of your breath. Spend a few more seconds with that. And now open your eyes. This is a good exercise because of how it speaks to the idea we frequently return to about thoughts not being your reality. In our practice, we conceptualize the sky as mind and a blank canvas for the addition of thoughts in the form of clouds. Just as we don't need clouds to have a sky, the mind exists independent of thought, but is enriched by them. However, thoughts that take on a negative connotation are frequently assessed for why they have been generated and what that means for the thinker. Am I a bad person? Or am I emotionally unstable or bad at coping? Attempts to force thoughts to go away faster are often met with frustration as the effort results in their persistence, similar to what it must be like to try to move a cloud. Something that is made of vapor, present but intangible. Best to allow something such as that to run its course and recognize that the less interaction with it, the less it impacts you. As we move to observer of thoughts, we see that they come and then go much more frequently if we don't find ourselves judging why they are present or try to push them out. Often, practitioners of this exercise find their ability to watch day-to-day thoughts, including anxious and sad thoughts, instead of judging their meaning and going down a rabbit hole of fortune-telling worst-case scenarios. You're going to have worries during this terrifying time of the coronavirus. Just allow them to pass through, but don't start judging that worry as a sign that you're going to get it or a loved one is going to get sick. Be mindful that envisioning the worst case scenario doesn't prepare you any better, but instead keeps your fight or flight system activated and taxes your body and mind. Notice that initial anxious thought about the virus and allow it to exist, but then put your mental energy in following the recommendations of our medical community. Put that energy in planning how to minimize your exposure by limiting outings as best as possible. Continue to live as you value, engaging with loved ones and interests at home, instead of attending to negative thoughts about all the what ifs. Live with intention. Thank you for providing your attention to today's wellness break, and as always, reach out to us at Keep if you have any questions or need support. Thank you for your service through this difficult period, and stay safe.